Welcome top news today.
Casino mogul Steve Wynn, Charles KrupaAP. When the New York Times' staggering investigation of Harvey Weinstein's alleged sexual assaults was published last fall, the Republican National Committee wasted little time in turning the news to its advantage. Weinstein was a heavy donor to Democratic candidates and committees, and so RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel joined a Republican chorus demanding the money be returned. The Weinstein revelations, as we all now know, were less the tip of the iceberg than the bit of snow that precipitated an avalanche. In short order, scores of other men were identified as serial abusers, harassers or gropers, including others in the media and in politics. That list got a bit longer last week when the Wall Street Journal reported serious allegations against casino mogul Steve Wynn. Among the allegations were that Wynn forced an employee to engage in sexual intercourse with him, reportedly resulting in a $7.5 million settlement. You already know where this is going. Wynn was not only a heavy donor to the Republican Party, he was the chairman of the party's fundraising committee. He gave smaller amounts to Democratic candidates. McDaniel quietly accepted his resignation from the position over the weekend, but she was mum on whether the party would return the contributions he had made. The DNC eventually donated part of the money Weinstein had given to other groups. On Tuesday, in an interview with Fox News, McDaniel addressed the question of returning Wynn's money. "The allegations in the Wall Street Journal were deeply troubling," she said. "They were so troubling that within 24 hours Steve was no longer our finance chair. That said, Steve has denied these allegations. Unlike Harvey Weinstein and Al Franken and others, Steve has denied them. There is an investigation that's going to take place. He should be allowed due process, and if he is found of any wrongdoing, we will absolutely return 100% of that money. But we're going to let due process take place." This argument is a popular one. It is the same argument another prominent Republican made last year. How was the situation of former Senator Al Franken, accused of groping several women and forcibly kissing them on the lips, different than the allegations faced by President Trump during the 2016 campaign? I think in one case specifically, Sen. Franken has admitted wrongdoing, and the president hasn't. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, "I think that's a very clear distinction." This was the same excuse Trump himself used when he was asked why he stood by Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore in Alabama, who had been accused of groping a 14-year-old girl and assaulting another teenager in the 1970s. "Look, he denies it," the president said. "I mean, if you look at what is really going on, and you look at all the things that have happened over the last 48 hours, he totally denies it. He says it didn't happen, and, you have to listen to him also. In a court of law, Americans are considered innocent until proven guilty. In politics, though, the standard has traditionally been lower, especially in the face of overwhelming evidence." Weinstein and Franken both admitted to inappropriate behavior, though not to the most serious allegations they faced. Moore, Trump and Wynn have all vociferously denied anything happened, despite facing about a dozen and multiple dozens of allegations respectively. To find someone guilty in court, one must overcome reasonable doubt about the defendant's guilt. To survive a sex scandal in politics these days, it seems you just need to introduce a tiny iota of doubt. In Alabama, we saw the reason most politicians handle allegations like these differently than you might expect in the private sector. Moore lost a race that he was expected to win. He was actually the exception in politics these days. When Rep. Greg Gianforte Armont physically assaulted a reporter the day before a special election in Montana, he won anyway. So did Trump, of course, despite the tape in which he admitted to groping women and a number of women coming forward to say he had done exactly that to them. Why? A significant part of the reason is rank partisanship. When defending Moore, Trump made that choice explicit. "I can tell you one thing for sure," he said, before noting Moore denied the allegations. "We don't need a liberal person in there, a Democrat." Jones. Trump benefited in the 2016 election from Republicans, many of whom seemed lukewarm on his candidacy as the campaign wound down, yet ended up backing him over Hillary Clinton anyway. Republicans came home, as they say in the parlance. Gianforte won for several reasons, including that Montana is simply a Republican state. Even Franken's allegations were probably survivable politically. Half of voters in Minnesota, a generally blue state, thought he shouldn't resign shortly before he did. McDaniel's objection to Weinstein was probably sincere. Most people's objections to the allegations were, but the demand that the DNC give back its money was just opportunism. Perhaps she sincerely thinks the allegations against Wynn are less robust than those against Weinstein, or Weinstein's vague admission of participating in outdated workplace culture counts as proof of guilt on the most serious charges. Or perhaps it is just hypocrisy for which no one in her party will hold her to account. Ours is a stunningly partisan era, in which Republicans and Democrats view members of the other party with not only skepticism but hostility. Most partisans view the other side very unfavorably. More than a third of each party views the opposition as an actual threat to the country. In an atmosphere like that, the choice offered in Alabama, a guy accused of initiating sexual contact with a 14-year-old who he met outside of a custody hearing her mother was attending, or a Democrat, becomes harder to resolve. As long as the accused does not cop to the disturbing accusations he faces, partisanship will mean that, as long as there is a campaign to win money to keep, he can apparently get a pass. There is one way to break the logjam, though, if the alleged wrongdoer can also be framed however shakily as an ally of your opponent.